Welcome to this reading. I tried to record it and then the intro and it's just immediately got off track. It's just been a weird day and I'm really drained. I did want to say that before I get into anything. I'm super duper exhausted and just energetically I feel like depleted for some reason. So today's reading is not going to be like a pick a pile. I don't have the energy for that. We're just gonna do one general reading, and it's going to be like a healing message from spirit. That's kind of the intent behind this. So of course, like if it resonates, if you feel called to watch it, you can. If you want to move on and find another video, that works as well. But I wanted to say very quickly before we get into like the rest of the reading itself, that as I was shuffling the oracle cards, I heard the affirmation of like, I release. And that's something that you might be saying to yourself, or it's something that could be helpful for you. But generally, like, I feel like there's grief coming through, and then like the acknowledgement of the need to release it, or like the taking the steps towards working through that grief and release. And of course, like I could be, you know, projecting right now because I'm in a similar situation. I think that happens a lot. You sort of pick up on similar energies, but it just feels like release is a theme thus far. And then I was talking when I was trying to record this before, and something popped into my mind. I'm reading this book about Chiron, and I'm just gonna show it really quick. This is it. There's a little thing in here that I wanted to read. If I can find it. You think that I would have tried to flip to that page before. But Chiron is all about like healing and healing wounds, deep-seated wounds. And that could be something to look into. Like there's a reason why I am particularly drawn to Chiron, but yeah, I don't know, sorry. I'm trying to, hold on, let me find this passage. Okay, I found it. Anyways, I'm gonna try and read this quickly, but this is just basically about sort of Chiron's orbits, and I guess like how that interacts with the more astrological portions of things. So yeah, I feel like this might be helpful, but it definitely is coming through as important. The points of greatest intensity occur when Chiron is in Libra, and of least intensity when it is in Aries. This may seem counter to our previous assertion, in as much as we said that Aries represents the most wounded time of our journey of consciousness. If we think about it though, the times of our greatest darkness birth the impulse to move towards the light, i.e. to move toward healing. During Aryan times, chironically speaking, we are the most impelled to seek meaning and connection in our lives, as these appear to be missing. Consequently, we see the escalation ensuing over, oh, well, that's just getting into the rest of the stuff. But that's kind of what I wanted to read. Sorry, my cat is just doing whatever he wants to do today, not listening to me. But yeah, so maybe there's some significance with Chiron in your chart, or at least like its orbit in the sky right now, and where that like maybe it's aspecting certain things in your chart currently. But it feels like there's a impulse to move towards the light, maybe after a period of rest, after a period of sort of being in darkness, and releasing, I think, darkness. But of course, let me not talk too much before we get into anything. So sorry for the long intro. I'm going to set the tarot cards aside for now. I don't know, did I mention it that we're using the Daydreamer tarot? I think I might have. I can't remember. But we're gonna move these and get into the big ass stack of oracle cards. So the first card that we have is Deep Cellular Wow. Cellular healing. I don't know how to say that. Arcturus energy. Physical and emotional healing. We have choose a new direction. Sorry for all the noise outside too. We have Chow Chow with dignified, honest, and serious. I have a lot of cards here. We have Deeper. You are not finished. You are not done yet. Dig deeper. The best is yet to come. Hold on. Hold on. I never know how to organize these things. Just like a bunch kept falling out and I was like, okay, we have Aries coming through. So Aries season could be or could have been significant. It's interesting that that actually came out with the passage from Chiron because like he said in the book, those times spent in isolation and spent alone sort of cause us to reach more towards that light. So maybe you really have been spending a great period of time alone. It's coming through that this is like, it's feeling more like solitude than anything else, or I don't know if that was the right word to use. How do I put this? It's coming through that it's like less so that you just like really want to be alone, but it's more so like in reaction to things, like that being alone for you right now seems like the best way to be, just to like protect your energy, protect yourself. Maybe you were dealing with like an energy vampire. That definitely could be a message where you were something about like a relationship, a past relationship. It does not have to be romantic, let me just say. I feel like people always sort of project that, but just someone who was draining you, someone or something who's draining you. And like in retaliation, you were like, I can't do anything anymore. Like, I can't deal with this anymore. And you sort of like shut people out, shut things out. It's just, there is like that idea of just solitude and the self and being alone. It's coming through that you might like have, it might be under the guise of like, I'm just focusing on myself, but it feels more like retaliation, like anger. Anyways, we have Innocence. So many. I'll get into these ones. These ones just kept falling out. I was like, okay. Bonding, genuine connections, friends, family, children, reconnecting with childlike joy. Okay. It's nice that we have that there with Innocence. Which would be like, I wrote this card as like to be like the Six of Cups, essentially. I know that's how. Oh, there goes Persephone. She's itchy. We have something is expanding and growing and will do so with or without you. The energy of Uranus is here to call your attention to archaic methods of going about things that are no longer useful for you. Innovation and outside of the box thinking is required to thrive in this situation. You may even find yourself pioneering a new path altogether, potentially one that challenges the status quo. Though this may seem daunting, the message is clear. The path for you is one that you will forge. We have timing, impatience, restlessness. Sometimes what we want and what is meant for us do not coincide. In the moment, this can feel frustrating as though Spirit is keeping something from us. It can cause us to grow petulant. However, Spirit is asking you to keep an open mind. If something is consistently not coming to fruition despite your best efforts, it simply may not be meant for you. In fact, Spirit could be protecting you from something that would ultimately cause harm. Though it might be hard to see in the moment, something is in the works that will exceed your expectations. This is a call to not settle for less than what you deserve. I swear, I don't know why, but I feel like all of the wordy cards come out at once in that fucking deck. Let me see how I can organize this shit. Anyways. Sorry, this is like rearranging is like taking up so much time, but I feel like right now, nope, that's not in frame anymore. I'm gonna put it up here. I feel like you might be someone who, you might be an Aries. It feels like the energy that you are in, I know I said like moving towards healing, and I think that that moving towards healing is very tentative. I think that if this is like, if you are in a place of solitude and you have put yourself there in reaction to things or people, relationships, stuff that's happened in your life, and you're like, fuck this, I can't do it anymore. I think that Spirit has been sending you messages time and time again that this is not really a sustainable way for you to exist. If I had to guess, I would say that you're not an introvert, but you just don't know what else to do, and you've thrown your hands up and sort of placed yourself in like solitary confinement. And it feels like this is something that's been going on for a while, like a chronic mistrust of people, things, and situations around you. And it feels like also when Spirit is like offering you things, offering you situations to like kind of come out of this shell that you built for yourself, you trust them so little, and you trust the universe so little, and you trust yourself so little that you don't engage with them. But at the same time, there is some sort of like restlessness here. There is some sort of like, almost like, why can't I have like this and this and this? Like, why can I never, you know, get what I want? Why can I not, you know, have what other people have? And it's sort of like a thankless cycle, almost, like where you're putting yourself in a position where you're denying yourself and then getting mad that you've been denied or deprived of something that you wanted. It is kind of feeling like you're punishing yourself for something. Maybe if something ended poorly before, you're like, I can't ever trust anything or anyone again. Like, I need to be punished for being that naive. It's a very like conflicted energy. And there's like, the thing is, I feel like all the signs in your life have been pointing to the uncomfortable truth, which is that you need to find a way to heal, which I think is overwhelming for you. Like, this place of like solitude, like this aloneness is comfortable because you know what to expect, and you know that the only person that can hurt you is you, or at least like that's kind of how you can frame it in your mind. But I don't know, like there's a disconnect, like there's a longing here, and there's a part of you that's neglected, and it's been neglected for a while. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting so far, maybe. No. I just, it feels like you're someone who, you didn't used to be this way, but now you like keep your distance from people and things because of something that just probably ended really poorly. I think that you, not only did you take it to heart, but like you beat yourself up about it and blame yourself for something that happened. I know I was talking about grief before, and it's like, it's almost like you never really processed the grief. It's like there was a hard stop, and then you kind of turned on yourself. Instead of processing the grief as sort of an outside thing, like that this is something that happened and like I'm grieving this loss, I'm grieving what happened, you ended up just blaming yourself, and it was like a hard stop on the healing process and on the grieving process, because instead of accepting that there are external things or factors at play, you have levied the responsibility for all of this onto your own shoulders. And because of that, you can't move on, you can't heal, and you can't leave this place of solitude, because in your mind, oh my God, that's a fucking wasp. It's back. Hold on. Okay, I closed the window. I think it's shut out because there are some cracks in there. But anyways, what I was saying was, in your mind, because you have essentially taken responsibility for something that you did not have responsibility for, that means that it was your fault, and that means that it could happen again. I think that you trust yourself so little. I hope that made sense. I feel like I just started talking. But yeah, I don't know what happened, but it wasn't your fault. And keeping people and things so far away from you for fear of feeling that same pain, it's just not really a viable option, because there's a part of your soul that is itching for something. I feel like there's a part of you that does go and not, I don't want to say self-pity, but it is kind of oh, well, I can't have anything. It's not that you can't have anything, it's just that you're actively blocking these things from coming to you. And I feel like Spirit has just dropped things in your lap before to be can you fucking wake up? And you're just oh, that's not real. Or you actively deny those things from entering your life because you're too afraid. And this fear needs to be faced head on. And the way that you will do that is by healing, which is scary, because when you start to heal, then you start to accept that things can change and that there's a future, and that future might involve things that make you uncomfortable, letting people in. But anyways, I'm gonna keep rolling with it and hope I'm not rambling too much. This scarf is so soft. We have series with nurture, simplicity, family, nourishment. I just heard there also might be a death in the family or something like that. Maybe a death with someone that you sort of neglected the relationship with. But there is some sort of grief coming through. Definitely could be in relation to family, familial relationships. We have Aquarius, which has come through twice now with that other card. So 11th house placements could be significant. Or you could have significant Uranus placements, or you know what I'm trying to say. We have the 3rd house, the 10th house, and the 1st house. So Aries again. Lots of Aries energy. I'm just going to skip through to the last little cards, and then we're going to talk a little bit more and then get into the tarot. Oh my gosh, he's upside down. How is that comfy for you? We have death coming through, as well as the Wheel of Fortune. And then I did get some songs for you, so I'm not going to read the lyrics, but you can read them yourself. And I always encourage people to listen to the songs because I put them in the video for a reason. Music is deeply spiritual to me, so they might be significant to you. We have Forgiveness by Matt Karkis, Matthew Karkis. That's his name. I can't say it right. I've just never been able to. I think I can say it in my head right, but Ohio as well, by the same person. And then Rive by Tapestry. Okay. I feel like I talked a lot, but it has become a little bit more clear. So, the first thing that I really want to mention, even though we're 20 minutes in, but it's fine, is that there is a lot of Aries energy coming through. There's a lot of Aries and first house energy, as well as Aquarius. And what I'm getting is, aside from the sort of factor of solitude, putting yourself in timeout, is I feel like you could have been someone who was previously very self-concerned and very selfish. And it feels like there was a wake-up call. And it feels like that wake-up call included something that was very uncomfortable, a life circumstance that was outside of your control, that you now blame yourself for and have refused to go through the grieving process for. This could be a relationship that ended poorly because you got into a blowout fight and you said something. I am definitely also getting like potentially a death in a family with someone that you had a strained relationship with, and towards the end of it, maybe you weren't really present in that person's life. And I think that this is something that it has been easier for you to beat yourself up over than to go through the process of accepting that you have lost something and that it hurts. I feel like you're someone who does keep people at arm's length. And you project a certain image of yourself. I want to say that it's like you're very like much refined and in control, or maybe if not that, like those adjectives in particular, but you do project a certain image. You want people to think things about you, like particular things about you, especially with a chow, like dignified, honest, serious. Like you might carry yourself in a very particular way. You might have had a very high opinion of yourself. Like I feel like that's really coming through, which is not, there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like you were not previously behaving in ways that would coincide with having that high opinion of yourself. And so this thing, like this event, this thing that happened was sort of a wake-up call, and a wake-up call because it was truly like a mirror, and it reflected back at you something that you did not want to see, which I'm feeling like caused some amount of just like pulling back and reclusion, and just like disappearing from people's lives, dropping off of the face of the earth. Like if you had friends reaching out to you, they might be fucking worried because you're just like not responding and some shit like that. And people understand that there was this event in your life that happened that has caused that you were like trying to process and go through that grieving cycle for, but they also don't understand that it's not just that. And I feel like you might feel selfish for that you're not only grieving an external loss, but you're grieving an internal loss because you're not the person that you thought you were. And I think that has been particularly hard to process. And so like when you go about levying all the responsibility for something external onto your own shoulders, something that wasn't your fault, it's sort of a roundabout way of you taking responsibility for the person that you've been, but you're still not really admitting that to yourself, that you're not happy with that person, and subsequently you're not happy with yourself. That's kind of just what is coming through. I think that this showed your own folly, your own arrogance, and this might seem like tough love. I know this is supposed to be a healing reading, but this is just kind of what is coming through. And I think that this is coming through to say that just because you were that person doesn't mean that you like always will be that person. And that you're grieving a lot of things at once. Like one thing that was not your fault, that was completely due to external circumstances. And then grieving the person that you thought you were, and grieving relationships that you might have lost in the past because of who you were and because of your own ability to like place your needs and yourself before other people. It's just, it feels like there's a lot going on for you, and it's a lot of uncomfortable, heavy emotions. And no one's perfect. No one is perfect, and no one's perfect at once, like all at once. Like, we are constantly making mistakes. We are constantly hurting other people, hurting ourselves, and trying to be a better person, and then taking 10 steps back. And it's just, it truly, healing is a never ending process. I say that in like all of these videos because healing is always like a major theme. Again, no one's coming to a fucking tarot reading for guidance if everything is going great in their life. That's just not happening. You're in a position where you are shrouded by darkness, so you're seeking light. And healing is not linear. Healing is not a one and done thing. Like, you never stop healing. That it's the same as growing. You never stop growing. It's just, that's not how life fucking works. And there's like a message, if you want to be a better person, you can be a better person. Like, you are not bound to who you are or who you were in the past and the things that you did. That's not to say that everyone will forgive you, and that's not to say that apologizing will absolve you of things. But at the same time, you are not, you know, you are not to be like cast aside, or just like put in a box because of previous things that you did. Like, if you choose to grow and be better, then you can make that choice, and that doesn't mean that you are forever bound to things that you aren't proud of, you know. But there is a little bit of immaturity coming through with that Aries and Aquarian energy, like two signs that very much stand alone. Even though Aquarius is like the universal friend, they're also like typically introverts, I feel, and typically like loners. And I know that sounds very contradictory, but that's just what Aquarius is. It's like everyone's friend, but also like they're a loner. They're very much like offbeat. You could have a public facing job, especially with the 10th house, or Capricorn could be a significant placement. But it does feel like you want people to regard you in a very particular way. And the fact of the matter is that you haven't been behaving in a way that like would necessitate that. And I think that that's like really hard for you to deal with too. Yeah. We also have the 3rd house coming through, so Gemini. If you are having familial issues, like definitely the mother could be significant. I'm trying to think. I know there's like a lot of stuff coming through, a lot of cards, a lot of messages, but that's just kind of what I'm getting right now. And I think that you might have gotten so preoccupied with like, how do I put it? I guess like the image that you wanted to project, you kind of ended up getting disconnected from yourself all in all. You might have been the kind of person to put work or things that you wanted to achieve above other people. So maybe you neglected communicating with family and friends because you were so engrossed in work, or you threw people under the bus to get like a promotion or move up the ladder. But it just feels like there's something about you has been very, very self-concerned. And that this now, especially with the Wheel of Fortune and Death, like this is the turning of the karmic wheel, saying like change is now completely necessitated. It feels like there have been a lot of signs, like there have been signs to heal, there have been signs to be different, do better, that you ignored. And now there are still signs telling you to heal that you're still ignoring. And this just feels like, not that this was going to happen like because you needed a wake-up call. I don't know what happened, but I don't think it happened because you needed a wake-up call. I just think that it is the turning of the wheel, and things happen and they mean different things to different people, but all of these things sort of coincide and it feels like a perfect storm. And to you, this might feel like a tower moment, but the thing about the difference between death and the tower is that death is more of a release and a shedding. So going back to that release, whereas a tower is more of like the universe just like fucking kicking your ass and beating you while you're down. So it might feel like that to you, that it's a tower moment, but realistically what's happening is a shedding of stagnant energy or energies that are no longer serving you, that have been building up for a very, very long time. So yes, it does feel like this definitely has to do with family stuff, but of course, like, you know, take it as it resonates. But I'm still coming back to that, like the sort of familial aspect of it, especially given the third house coming through and the associations with the mother. I think it was in like more so traditional astrology. I want to say that the third house is the house of the maternal figure, but that feels particularly significant. Maybe you got so engrossed in your own life, or you just, you know, you felt like you didn't have time for your family anymore. But it does feel like there's some sort of wound around family, the mother wound coming through. Maybe someone is ill, chronically ill. Yeah. Oh yeah, family's coming through right here too. There's just like some amount of like innocence that you have strayed from, and I think that innocence was rooted in your family. Like it's not coming through that you really like were on poor terms, or that there's like stuff like that. I'm not really picking up on that. I'm just picking up that you strayed, that you got too busy, you got too engrossed, and you like started neglecting people and relationships in your life. Yeah, so I feel like I've talked about the Oracle cards for long enough. Of course, if that resonates with you and you want to stick around for the tarot, I would be, you know, grateful. I hope it made sense, but I'm going to put these away, and then we're going to get into the tarot and really see what the healing message is, because of course this is sort of the framework more so. So BRB. All right. Put all the cards away. So we are going to get into the tarot portion of this. So Spirit, here comes Biscoff again. Great. Can you please get down? Thanks. My goodness. Anyways, sorry for drinking my energy drink in the mic, but it's fine. We're gonna see what healing message we have for you right now in this moment. Aside from what came through earlier, which, to reiterate, because I feel like that came through a little bit harsh, but I'm just being honest. Releasing, grieving what you can, and taking responsibility for what you can. You know, not skirting around things, but also not beating yourself up over stuff that you don't have control over, is kind of what was coming through, even though I know I rambled so much. But we're gonna see what messages the tarot has. What healing messages can we get for this collective spirit? The Page of Swords. What else? What healing message? The Eight of Cups. The Queen of Wands. Coming through. The Chariot. I'm gonna get some clarifiers and then we can talk about it. So clarify the Chariots here. strength here. The Three of Cups. The Six of Cups. And then clarify the Page of Swords. The Ten of Swords. Okay, let me move them up a little. So y'all can see. All right. The bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Wands right now. I might get a couple more cards later, but we'll see. All right. So this feels like, how can you heal? Not just like a message about healing. You know, like, you have to be a little bit more proactive with these things. Healing, and I think that this is something that Spirit wants you to know, is something that you have to take the steps towards, because they have been sending you a lot of, like, this Ace of Wands on the bottom, to me, tells me that there have been a lot of different ways and many different avenues that Spirit has tried to send you down. I don't want to say the right path, but a more constructive path. And it is coming through that there's like a little bit of like, woe is me, and not, you know, feeling the emotions, but also not really doing anything with them, like sitting in them, not with them, sitting in them, letting them sort of overtake you. In some capacity, or alternatively just not dealing with them at all. But either way, like, the message is that you are not taking the proper steps, and at the same time you are like, well, why can't da 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 da, you know, why is this not happening, why is this not happening? And it's ultimately because, like, you're not really taking the opportunities that Spirit is giving you to move forward, you know, to do better, to be better. You're very much stuck in what has happened, and you're stuck in what you have lost. And it's okay to observe that loss and to feel that loss, but I feel like this has been going on long enough, and I feel like the game that you've been playing, where you're just so self-focused, has been going on for way, way, way long enough. Like, I feel like you've just been like zeroed in on yourself for years and years at this point. And even this form of like sitting in your emotions has just turned into another way for you to be self-focused. And I think that what Spirit is trying to tell you, sorry for my cat, is that where you need to move is outside of yourself, and so there has to be action taken. Like, healing for you is not going to be something passive. Like, this solitude that you have put yourself in is not actually going to heal you. It's just another way for you to remain, you know, within immediate control, to remain focused on yourself, to remain within your own bubble. What you need to do is leave that bubble, and that is where the healing will come from. I don't know what's going on with this chair, and sorry, it's like a scritch in it. I think it's from the cats. And this is gonna take, like, obviously strength coming out. This is gonna take strength. This is gonna take discomfort. I think that you're not used to thinking about what other people want and how that will affect you and how that will fit into your life. You're very much the kind of person that has planned your life around what you want and how you can get it, but there seems to be little regard for where other people and their desires and wishes will fall into that. And so there's going to be discomfort there, but there's a need to move outside of the self and to invite other people in, especially with like this Three of Cups and the Queen of Wands. Like, you're someone, Persephone, please stop. That's so disgusting. You're someone who's very confident, fiery. Like, we were getting a lot of that Aries energy before. Like, you seem like you are leader, in charge, can command a room, but at the same time, like, you keep people at a distance, and you're a little bit aloof. And I think that you might be the kind of person that you're so charismatic, people hang on to your every word. But like, and you know that, you know, and you kind of use that to your advantage, but you're not really invested in the relationships that you seem to cultivate or you dip your toes into. It's like this power imbalance where you're sort of, you engage when you want to engage, you pull away when you want to pull away, but nothing's really like super reciprocal on your end, because you're far more concerned with what you have going on in your own life than concerning yourself with other people and what they have going on, and actually taking a genuine interest in that. And so I don't know, but like there's a need to, like, there's not saying that you should abandon that part of yourself that is like fiery and charismatic, but just saying that like using that as a tool to foster genuine connections, like using that as like sort of the intro, and then from there, like indulging in this Three of Cups, indulging in this like celebration and this joy that comes with really involving yourself with people, not just keeping people at an arm's length, or, you know, sort of being half involved in the conversation, half in your head about what you have going on, and what you need to do at work tomorrow, and what you need to do to get this and this and this. It just seems like very self-concerned, and there's a call to step outside of that, because the grief that you're feeling about what happened, yes, it's partially grief about the loss that you've experienced, but it's grief over who you've been, and the only way to absolve that is to be a better person, and to get more in touch with that side of yourself, the cup side of yourself, the emotional side of yourself. Yeah. Anyways, I'm like, someone's calling me. Why the fuck? Go away. So with the Eight of Cups clarified by the Six of Cups, and then I think that came out before with like innocence and playfulness and stuff like that. One of the best ways to reconnect, or to heal and move forward with healing, is to reconnect with that side of yourself that did not take life so seriously and did not take yourself so seriously. I think you take yourself very seriously, and that's not really always an issue, because in the flip side, I personally hate people where everything they do is shrouded in 10 fucking layers of irony, and they can't be genuine to save their fucking life. That's like my least favorite breed of person. And then you, unfortunately, have swung in the opposite direction completely, to where you just like, there's almost no joy to be had. You have forgotten what life is all about. And there's a need to come, I think that you willingly let that go. Like, you willingly decided that that was not really functional in your life and walked away from it. And there's this call with this Eight of Cups and the Six of Cups to come back to the things that we walked away from, thinking that they were unsustainable, or thinking that our life had no place for them. Because if you look at those things now that you left in the past, you will see that those were things that really brought a lot of joy and abundance into your life. And so a portion of this healing that I'm seeing, like, is genuine connection with other people, stepping outside of yourself, outside of what you want immediately, like what you want in a relationship, what you want from someone, and just like taking a moment to really bond, connect, and listen. And then getting back to like your roots and the things that when you were a kid, like what lit you up, you know, simple pleasures. I think there was that one card before that said simplicity, like maybe reconnecting with your family, like maybe reconnecting with younger kids in your family. It's just like being able to adopt that way of looking at life through a childlike lens. It seems to be like something that you've been disconnected from a long time, and that it will be very beneficial, and it will help melt away this like very serious exterior that you have, and this idea that you need to constantly be taking life so seriously, and that that's the only way for things to swing in your favor or for anything to work to your benefit is for you to constantly just be so serious and so like focused on an outcome, or focused on your work or focused on getting what you want. Like sometimes it's okay to just like relax and enjoy life. I think that you've forgotten the fact that life is meant to be lived. You seem to always be like chasing some amount of productivity or some amount of something that you feel like is always in the works, and like the actual living of life has gotten for like swept up in that and sort of drowned. And I think that there's a need to admit here that you don't have all the answers, that you're not perfect, that you can make mistakes, and then admit that you might have done things that hurt people. You might have acted in ways that were immature. There's something about making amends here, especially with like the Page of Swords. Like pages are immature. They are. That's not me like being like, oh, you're really immature. Like that's just it. Like it's sort of the potential before the night, you know, like the swell of energy that's just sort of sitting there, like it's still like growing, it's still blooming, it's still like in the process of becoming. And then the night would be the action with that. But you're still in this page. Like you're still in this energy of like growth. You're not ready really to be that knight charging ahead. Like you need to admit that you don't have all the answers. You need to like be okay with observing, with listening, with learning and taking things in. Like the pages are about learning and getting in tune. I was reading something, I can't remember what it was, but one thing that was helpful for me to take away from it and the differentiation between the pages and the knights is that the page cherishes what they have, you know, like they're in that more so observational energy of like having it and like cherishing it and holding it close, whereas again that knight is that action. So you are in the stage where you're like looking at what you have and you're like observing and learning, cherishing it for what it is, but it's still developing. You're still developing. And I think for a long time you've acted like you've had all the answers and you were the end all be all and you knew everything. And this page is here to say, no, you might know a lot, but you don't know enough to, you know, to fucking, you know, be, what's the fucking word? I don't know, my brain is fizzling out. To be the arbiter of truth for any one subject. Like you're still very much in development as a person. And I think that's been proven to you time and time again, but you just had to open your eyes to it. And admitting that will ultimately be this release with this Ten of Swords. Coming back to release, which is very much what like the tens are in some ways, like because it's a closing of a chapter, but the Ten of Swords is the release of a lot of pain. And to get to that point, you again, like we're gonna go through all of this, like you have to go through this cycle of being proactive about your healing, putting yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, genuinely connecting with people, and then reconnecting with parts of yourself that you lost. And after doing that, you know, and then admitting that you are still in the process of growing, only then will you be able to release the grief that you feel about the situation at hand and about the person that you were. So, I feel like that was pretty self-explanatory. We have the Five of Cups coming through behind the Ace of Wands as well. Which is, you know, all about perceived loss. I mean, it's about loss, but it's also about like the opportunity that sometimes comes to us with certain things that we lose. It's about like being able to understand that sometimes we lose things so that we can look back at other things and see their value. Like something had to be cleared away before we could see what we really had. But I'm tired. I'm not even gonna lie. So I'm gonna close this reading out, and I really hope that it was helpful. I know it probably was a little bit less like soft and gentle than I thought it was going to be, but the messages that came through are the ones that I feel like you need to hear. Oh my goodness. And I hope that they do help you heal. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I hope I will see you in the next reading.